You fall asleep every night carrying a quiet promise in your body, a promise that repair, renewal, and strength are possible even in stillness. While the world goes dark and the muscles appear silent, an intricate biological conversation begins, guided by nutrients that act less like stimulants and more like patient architects. This is not about forcing growth, but about allowing the body to remember how it was designed to rebuild itself when conditions are right. When we think of strength, we often imagine effort, movement, resistance, and the visible struggle of muscles under load. Yet the most decisive work of building strength happens when the body is completely still. Sleep is not a pause in progress. It is an active biological state where the body shifts priorities from performance to repair. During these hours, muscle tissue that was stressed, stretched, and slightly damaged during the day becomes the focus of a highly coordinated restoration process. This is not accidental or passive. It is governed by signals, hormones, enzymes, and cellular intelligence refined over thousands of years of human evolution. Every physical action you perform creates microscopic disruptions in muscle fibers. This is not harm in a negative sense, but a necessary stimulus. The body interprets these tiny disruptions as information, evidence that the muscles are being used and therefore need to adapt. However, adaptation does not occur during movement itself. It occurs later, when the nervous system quiets and the body has enough energy and resources to respond intelligently. Sleep provides the environment where this response can unfold without competition from digestion, cognition, or external stress. As sleep deepens, the body alters its hormonal landscape. Stress-related signals decline, while repair-oriented signals rise. Growth-related hormones increase, not to make the body larger in an exaggerated way, but to restore integrity and resilience at the cellular level. Muscle cells begin synthesizing new proteins, reinforcing their structure so they can handle similar demands more efficiently in the future. This is why strength improves not just with exercise, but with adequate rest. Without sleep, the message of adaptation is received, but the response is incomplete. What makes this process remarkable is its precision. The body does not rebuild indiscriminately. It prioritizes the tissues that were most engaged, responding directly to how you moved, lifted, walked, or even maintained posture throughout the day. This specificity is the reason gentle daily movement can still lead to meaningful strength over time. The body is constantly listening, constantly learning, and sleep is when it applies what it has learned. At the cellular level, muscle repair requires energy, raw materials, and coordination. During sleep, blood flow patterns subtly change to favor restoration. Oxygen and nutrients are directed toward tissues undergoing repair. Mitochondria, the energy-producing structures within cells, adjust their function to support rebuilding rather than immediate output. Even the immune system participates, clearing damaged cellular components so new, stronger structures can take their place. None of this can occur efficiently in a state of constant wakefulness. Sleep also protects muscle by regulating inflammation. Short-term inflammation is a natural part of adaptation, but when sleep is inadequate, inflammation can become chronic and disruptive. Instead of signaling repair, it begins to interfere with muscle recovery, leading to weakness, stiffness, and slower progress. Restorative sleep resolves this by restoring balance, ensuring that inflammation remains a tool rather than a threat. In this way, sleep does not merely build muscle. It preserves the conditions under which muscle can remain healthy. There is also a neurological dimension to strength that is often overlooked. Muscles do not operate independently. They are directed by the nervous system. During sleep, neural pathways involved in movement are refined. The brain reinforces efficient motor patterns, reducing unnecessary muscle activation and improving coordination. This means that strength gained through sleep is not only structural but functional. Movements become smoother, more controlled, and less taxing. Even without additional muscle mass, the idea that sleep is active rather than passive challenges a cultural narrative that equates productivity with constant effort. Biology tells a different story. The body grows stronger not by being pushed endlessly, but by being allowed to complete its cycles. When sleep is shortened or fragmented, the body is forced to choose survival over optimization. Muscle repair becomes secondary, postponed, or only partially completed. Over time, this leads not only to reduced strength but to a sense of physical fragility that no amount of training can compensate for. Understanding sleep as an active builder of muscle reframes how we approach health. Exercise becomes a signal, not the final outcome. Nutrition becomes instruction, not just fuel. Sleep becomes the workshop where these instructions are assembled into living tissue. Strength, then, is not something we chase aggressively. It is something we allow to emerge by respecting the body's timing and intelligence. When we honor sleep, we are not being indulgent or lazy. We are participating in one of the most sophisticated biological processes available to us. The muscles respond not to force alone, but to rhythm, balance, and recovery. In the quiet darkness of sleep, the body continues working with remarkable dedication, repairing fibers, refining signals, and preparing itself to meet the next day with slightly more resilience than before, guided by an internal wisdom that has always known how to rebuild when given the chance. Vitamin D occupies a unique place in human biology because it behaves less like a conventional vitamin and more like a messenger that carries instructions deep into the cells. When the body has adequate levels, muscles are not merely nourished, they are informed. This distinction matters because muscle strength depends not only on raw materials but on the clarity of communication within the body. Vitamin D interacts directly with receptors found in muscle tissue, influencing which genes are activated and how effectively muscle fibers respond to stress, repair signals, and daily demands. At the most fundamental level, muscles exist to respond. They contract, relax, stabilize, and protect, all under the guidance of the nervous system. Vitamin D enhances this responsiveness by supporting the integrity of neuromuscular signaling. When levels are sufficient, muscles receive clearer instructions from the nerves, resulting in better coordination, stronger contractions, and more efficient movement patterns. When levels are low, the message becomes distorted, not dramatically at first, but subtly, showing up as fatigue, weakness, or slower recovery that often gets attributed to aging rather than nutritional deficiency. During sleep, vitamin D's influence becomes especially meaningful. Nighttime is when the body shifts from reacting to repairing, and vitamin D supports this transition by regulating genes involved in muscle protein synthesis and cellular growth. It helps muscle cells recognize when damage has occurred and respond appropriately by initiating repair rather than remaining in a prolonged state of stress. This is one reason individuals with adequate vitamin D often experience better strength gains and less muscle soreness even when their physical activity levels are similar to others. Vitamin D also plays a role in maintaining calcium balance within muscle cells, a factor essential for proper contraction and relaxation. Calcium is not only a bone mineral, it is a signaling molecule that allows muscle fibers to move. Vitamin D ensures that calcium is available where it is needed and regulated carefully so that muscles can contract powerfully without remaining tense. During sleep, when muscles cycle between relaxation and subtle activation, this regulation supports deep restoration rather than shallow rest. Another layer of vitamin D's influence lies in its relationship with inflammation. Muscle adaptation requires a brief inflammatory response, but unchecked inflammation interferes with repair. Vitamin D modulates immune activity, guiding inflammation toward resolution instead of persistence. This balance is especially important at night, when the immune system performs maintenance tasks. Adequate vitamin D allows this process to unfold smoothly, preventing low-grade inflammation from undermining muscle rebuilding efforts. There is also a hormonal dimension to consider. Vitamin D influences the production and sensitivity of hormones involved in muscle maintenance and growth. It does not act as a stimulant, but as a stabilizer, helping the body maintain an internal environment conducive to regeneration. During sleep, when anabolic processes naturally rise, vitamin D ensures these signals are received clearly at the cellular level. Without it, the body may produce the right hormones but fail to translate them into meaningful muscular repair. What makes vitamin D particularly compelling is how often its deficiency goes unnoticed. Unlike acute deficiencies that cause immediate symptoms, low vitamin D quietly erodes efficiency. Muscles still function, but with less confidence, less endurance, and less capacity to adapt. Over time, this can lead to a gradual decline in strength that feels inevitable but is, in many cases, reversible. The body has not forgotten how to be strong. It is waiting for clearer instructions. Sunlight, nutrition, and lifestyle all influence vitamin D levels, yet modern routines often limit exposure to natural light while increasing indoor living. As a result, many people unknowingly deprive their muscles of a key regulatory signal. This is not a failure of willpower or discipline. It is a mismatch between biology and environment. Recognizing this allows us to approach strength with compassion rather than frustration. During sleep, when external demands fade, vitamin D supports an internal dialogue focused on renewal. Muscle cells assess the day's activity, identify areas of strain, and initiate repair processes that depend on precise genetic activation. Vitamin D acts as a co-director in this process, ensuring that the right genes are turned on at the right time. This coordination is subtle but profound, shaping how muscles feel upon waking and how they perform over the long term. Understanding vitamin D as a hormonal signal rather than a simple supplement shifts how we view muscle health. Strength becomes less about forcing outcomes and more about supporting communication. When muscles are informed, they respond intelligently. When they are deprived of key signals, they compensate imperfectly. Sleep amplifies the effects of these signals, making nighttime a critical window where vitamin D's influence is quietly expressed. In this light, vitamin D represents more than a nutrient. It represents alignment between environment, biology, and rest. Muscles are not isolated structures waiting to be pushed harder. They are living systems responding to messages, timing, and conditions. When vitamin D is present in adequate amounts, it helps the body translate effort into adaptation, stress into strength, and rest into renewal, allowing muscles to wake not just recovered, but better prepared for the movements and challenges that await without needing to announce that transformation with dramatic changes. Only with a steady sense of capability and resilience that feels natural rather than forced. Magnesium is often spoken of as a mineral for relaxation, yet that description only captures half of its role. In the body, magnesium functions as a quiet coordinator, ensuring that systems communicate smoothly rather than loudly. Muscle growth depends on this kind of coordination, especially during sleep, when strength is not expressed outwardly but assembled inwardly. Magnesium does not push muscles to contract harder. It allows them to release fully, and that release is what creates the conditions for repair and rebuilding. Throughout the day, muscles are in a near constant state of readiness. Even when you are sitting or standing still, small muscle fibers remain engaged to maintain posture and balance. This subtle tension accumulates, especially under stress, poor sleep, or inadequate nutrition. Magnesium helps counteract this by regulating the flow of calcium into and out of muscle cells. Calcium initiates contraction, while magnesium enables relaxation. Without enough magnesium, muscles can remain partially contracted even at rest. consuming energy and limiting their ability to recover. Sleep is the time when the nervous system shifts from alertness to restoration, and magnesium plays a central role in this transition. It supports the parasympathetic nervous system, the branch responsible for calm, digestion, and repair. As this system becomes dominant at night, magnesium helps slow neural firing, reduce unnecessary muscle activation, and deepen the quality of rest. This deeper rest is not merely psychological. It directly influences how effectively muscles can restore their internal balance. Energy metabolism is another critical piece of the story. Every process involved in muscle repair requires energy in the form of ATP, the body's cellular currency. Magnesium is required for ATP to be biologically active. Without it, energy exists but cannot be used efficiently. During sleep, when the body reallocates energy toward repair rather than movement, magnesium ensures that this energy can be accessed where it is needed most. Muscle cells rely on this availability to synthesize proteins, rebuild damaged fibers, and restore electrolyte balance. Magnesium also influences insulin sensitivity and glucose regulation, both of which affect muscle recovery. Muscles are major consumers of glucose, especially after physical activity. During sleep, magnesium helps muscles absorb and utilize glucose efficiently, preventing blood sugar fluctuations that can disrupt restorative processes. Stable energy availability allows muscles to focus on rebuilding, rather than compensating for metabolic instability. Another often overlooked aspect of magnesium is its role in reducing nighttime muscle cramps and involuntary contractions. These events are signs of neuromuscular irritability, often linked to mineral imbalance. When magnesium levels are adequate, nerve impulses are transmitted with appropriate restraint, preventing excessive firing that keeps muscles from truly resting. This quieting effect allows muscle fibers to enter a state where repair can proceed uninterrupted. Inflammation regulation is also part of magnesium's influence. Physical activity naturally creates inflammatory signals that initiate adaptation, but if these signals linger, they interfere with recovery. Magnesium helps moderate the stress response by reducing excessive cortisol activity and supporting antioxidant defenses. During sleep, when inflammation should resolve rather than persist, magnesium contributes to this resolution, protecting muscle tissue from prolonged breakdown. What makes magnesium particularly important is how easily it is depleted. Stress, caffeine, certain medications, and even intense exercise can lower magnesium levels. Modern diets, often low in mineral-rich whole foods, compound this issue. As a result, many people experience subtle magnesium deficiency without obvious symptoms. Muscles still function, but they do so under strain, recovering more slowly and responding less efficiently to training or daily movement. During sleep, magnesium acts almost like a conductor, ensuring that relaxation, energy use, and repair occur in harmony. Muscle fibers cycle through phases of release and subtle activation, restoring their length and tension balance. Connective tissues benefit as well, regaining elasticity and hydration. This process is not dramatic, but it is cumulative. Night after night, magnesium-supported sleep builds a foundation of resilience that expresses itself as strength over time. There is also a psychological dimension that feeds back into physical recovery. Magnesium supports the production of calming neurotransmitters, helping the mind disengage from constant alertness. When mental tension decreases, physical tension often follows. Muscles respond to the nervous system's tone, and a calmer mind allows the body to enter deeper stages of sleep where repair is most active. Strength, in this sense, begins with permission to rest. Understanding magnesium's role reframes how we think about muscle growth. Strength is not only built through stimulation but through restoration. Muscles need to be challenged, but they also need to be released from constant contraction. Magnesium provides this release, not by weakening the body, but by allowing it to reset. In that reset, muscle fibers regain their responsiveness. Energy systems rebalance, and the groundwork for future adaptation is laid quietly and efficiently when magnesium is present in sufficient amounts. Sleep becomes more than an absence of activity. It becomes a deliberate phase of recalibration, where muscles are allowed to let go of the day's tension and reorganize themselves for the demands ahead. This is why strength supported by magnesium often feels sustainable rather than forced. It does not rely on constant effort, but on cycles of engagement and release that mirror the body's natural design, allowing muscles to wake feeling coordinated, responsive, and prepared to express strength without resistance or strain lingering beneath the surface waiting to interfere with movement and recovery. Zinc works in the body with a kind of quiet precision that often escapes attention, yet its influence reaches into some of the most fundamental processes of repair and renewal. Unlike nutrients that act broadly, zinc operates at the level of instruction, guiding cells on when and how to divide, synthesize proteins, and maintain structural integrity. Muscle tissue, which is constantly adapting to use and stress, depends heavily on this guidance, especially during sleep when growth and repair signals naturally rise. At the cellular level, muscle repair is an act of reconstruction. Proteins damaged during daily activity must be broken down and replaced with new ones that are slightly stronger and more resilient. Zinc is essential to this process because it activates enzymes involved in protein synthesis. Without adequate zinc, the body may have enough amino acids available, yet lack the ability to assemble them efficiently into functional muscle tissue. This creates a situation where effort and nutrition are present, but the outcome feels muted, as if the body is working with incomplete instructions. Sleep is the period when zinc's role becomes especially pronounced. During the night, the body increases its focus on anabolic activity, the building side of metabolism. Hormonal signals shift toward repair, and cells become more receptive to growth cues. Zinc supports this shift by stabilizing DNA and RNA structures, ensuring that genetic information is read accurately during protein production. This accuracy matters because muscle fibers rely on precise assembly to maintain strength and coordination. Zinc also plays a key role in regulating hormones associated with muscle maintenance. It supports the balance of anabolic hormones that encourage tissue repair while helping keep catabolic influences in check. This does not mean zinc artificially boosts hormone levels. Rather, it helps maintain sensitivity and balance. During sleep, when the endocrine system follows a natural rhythm of release and suppression, zinc ensures that muscle cells can respond appropriately to the signals they receive. Another important aspect of zinc's function is its involvement in immune regulation. Muscle repair is closely linked to immune activity because the immune system helps clear damaged cellular components after physical stress. Zinc supports immune cells in performing this cleanup efficiently without creating excessive inflammation. At night, when immune surveillance and maintenance increase, zinc helps ensure that this process supports regeneration rather than prolonged tissue breakdown. Zinc's influence also extends to satellite cells, specialized cells associated with muscle fibers that contribute to repair and growth. These cells remain dormant until activated by stress or injury. Zinc is involved in the signaling pathways that allow these cells to multiply and differentiate when needed. During sleep, when the body assesses the day's physical demands, zinc helps facilitate the activation of these cells so muscle repair can proceed smoothly. Energy efficiency is another layer of zinc's contribution. Protein synthesis and cellular repair are energy-intensive processes. Zinc supports enzymes involved in carbohydrate and fat metabolism, helping ensure a steady supply of energy during sleep. When energy availability is stable, muscle cells can focus on rebuilding rather than conserving resources. This efficiency often translates into better recovery and a greater sense of physical readiness upon waking. What makes zinc particularly significant is how easily marginal deficiency can develop. Stress, sweating, aging, and diets low in whole foods can all reduce zinc availability. The resulting effects are subtle at first. Muscle recovery feels slower, strength gains plateau, and fatigue lingers longer than expected. These changes are often attributed to overtraining or age, yet they frequently reflect a body struggling to execute repair instructions without adequate support. During sleep, zinc acts almost like a systems integrator. It connects hormonal signals with genetic expression, immune activity with tissue repair, and energy metabolism with protein assembly. Muscle cells rely on this integration to convert daily physical signals into lasting adaptation. Without zinc, these processes still occur, but with reduced efficiency and greater error, leading to repair that is functional but incomplete. There is also a neurological component to zinc's role in recovery. Zinc participates in neurotransmitter regulation, influencing how the brain transitions into deeper stages of sleep. These stages are critical for growth-related processes. When sleep is shallow or fragmented, muscle repair suffers regardless of nutrition or exercise. By supporting healthy sleep architecture, zinc indirectly enhances the environment in which muscle rebuilding occurs. Understanding zinc's role reshapes how we view muscle strength. Strength is not merely the result of force applied repeatedly. It is the outcome of countless microscopic decisions made by cells during rest. Zinc helps guide those decisions, ensuring that repair follows a pattern that favors resilience rather than mere survival. It does not act loudly or immediately, but its absence is felt over time as progress slows and recovery becomes inconsistent. In the quiet hours of sleep, when muscles are no longer responding to external demands, zinc supports the internal work that determines how those muscles will perform tomorrow. It enables cells to read instructions accurately, assemble proteins efficiently, and resolve inflammation intelligently. This behind-the-scenes activity defines whether strength accumulates gradually or dissipates despite effort, reminding us that the most important contributors to physical resilience often operate invisibly, shaping outcomes through consistency and balance rather than dramatic intervention or forceful stimulation imposed from the outside without regard for the body's need for precision, timing, and quiet cooperation within its own intricate systems. True strength does not arise from isolated actions taken in isolation, but from the quiet cooperation of systems that evolved to work together. The body is not a machine that responds predictably to force alone. It is a living network that interprets signals, weighs priorities, and allocates resources according to rhythm and context. When nutrition, sleep, and biological timing are aligned, strength emerges not as an act of aggression against the body, but as a natural outcome of internal coherence. This perspective shifts the question from how hard we push to how well we listen. Nutrition is often reduced to numbers, calories, or macros, yet in biological terms it is information. Every nutrient carries instructions that tell cells what conditions exist and how to respond. Vitamins and minerals do not simply fuel activity. They shape decision-making at the cellular level. When these signals are consistent and sufficient, muscle cells understand that resources are available for repair and growth. When they are erratic or absent, the body enters a conservative mode, prioritizing survival over adaptation. Strength cannot flourish in uncertainty. Sleep provides the temporal framework in which these nutritional signals are interpreted. During waking hours, the body is reactive, responding to gravity, movement, stress, and sensory input. At night, the body becomes reflective, assessing the day and recalibrating itself accordingly. This is when nutrients consumed earlier are integrated into tissue, hormones are regulated, and repair processes unfold in sequence. Without adequate sleep, even the best nutrition remains partially untranslated, like a message received but never fully understood. Biological rhythms govern when these processes are most effective. The body operates on cycles that influence hormone release, enzyme activity, and cellular sensitivity. When we eat, move, and rest in ways that respect these cycles, efficiency increases. Muscles repair more effectively, energy is used more wisely, and stress is resolved rather than accumulated. When rhythms are ignored, the body compensates, but compensation comes at a cost. Strength built under constant disruption tends to be brittle, easily lost under pressure. Modern culture often promotes the idea that intensity overrides timing, that effort alone is sufficient. Biology offers a quieter truth. Muscles do not grow because they are forced. They grow because conditions allow them to adapt. This adaptation requires periods of challenge followed by periods of deep restoration. Sleep is not optional in this equation, and nutrition is not interchangeable. Each element amplifies the others when aligned and undermines them when neglected. There is also an ethical dimension to this understanding of strength. Treating the body as something to dominate often leads to cycles of overexertion and disappointment. Treating it as a partner invites patience and respect. When we nourish ourselves adequately and allow for true rest, we acknowledge that resilience is not extracted through punishment but cultivated through care. This does not diminish discipline. It refines it. Strength that arises from alignment feels different from strength forced into existence. It is steadier, less dependent on constant stimulation, and more resistant to fatigue. Movements feel coordinated rather than strained. Recovery becomes reliable rather than unpredictable. Over time, this kind of strength supports not only muscle mass, but joint integrity, metabolic health, and nervous system balance. It becomes a quality of the whole organism rather than a property of isolated tissues. The interplay between sleep, nutrition, and rhythm also explains why progress often stalls despite effort. When one element is consistently compromised, the system cannot fully express adaptation. A body that is undernourished cannot rebuild effectively, regardless of how much it rests. A body that is sleep-deprived cannot interpret nutritional signals properly, regardless of diet quality. A body that lives in constant circadian disruption struggles to coordinate both. Strength, in this context, becomes fragmented. Understanding this interplay restores a sense of agency rooted in wisdom rather than force. It invites us to ask not only what we are doing, but when and under what conditions. It reframes rest as a strategic necessity and nourishment as a form of communication. The body responds to this coherence with efficiency, reducing wasteful stress responses and redirecting energy toward long-term resilience. Over time, respecting these systems changes how strength is experienced. It becomes less about peak performance and more about continuity. Muscles remain responsive, energy remains available, and recovery becomes predictable. Aging, rather than being defined by decline, becomes a process of adaptation shaped by how well these foundational rhythms are supported. Strength persists not because the body is pushed harder, but because it is allowed to operate as designed. When nutrition provides clear signals, sleep provides the space for integration, and biological rhythms provide the structure, the body does what it has always known how to do. It repairs, reinforces, and prepares itself quietly, without drama or excess. Strength emerges as a byproduct of harmony rather than conflict, expressed not only in physical capability, but in the ease with which the body meets daily demands, adapting continuously as conditions change. Guided by an internal intelligence that responds best when its needs are acknowledged and its timing is respected.